Hello and welcome to the Art of Being Human. In the last segment, I started to go through in detail the symptoms that people can get when they've been abused. And we understand that if you have not been abused, you may not have these symptoms, but it still is wise to know what they are because you have friends that have been abused, or there's a possibility that you might be abused in the future. But for the help and the health of those who have been abused, I'm going through the symptoms of abuse one by one. And we started last segment and we went through the negative expectations, never feeling good enough, fear of abandonment, and what that means. Never being wanted is connected with that. There is a fear that people have when they are abused that nobody will ever want them. They'll never find the right person to marry. They'll never find the right school. They're going to be rejected at every turn. This fear of rejection is a part of the fear of not being wanted. And that's a very, very prevalent fear among people who have been abused. So you have to get past that and realize that if you're a good person, if you're trying to do good things, people are going to want you around. If you're pleasant, if you're friendly, if you're helpful, people are going to want you around. And the idea that nobody wants me, it just is not real. Now, a lot of people who have been abused, they have fears that are not logical. To the person who has never been abused, they are not logical at all. But to the person who has been abused, they are logical because they have been told many times, we don't want you, you're not good enough, we wish that we had somebody else, we wish that you weren't living here, why do we have to put up with you? You can only take so much of that negative talk from somebody as a child, and you start to feel, I'm not wanted, they don't want me, and sometimes the parents will tell them, we wish that you weren't here. I wish that your brother had lived and not you if there was an accident and one lived and one died. I wish that you could be replaced by somebody else. I don't really want you. And children are told that, I don't really want you. Well, if you've been told that as a child, and that of course is very serious emotional abuse, you're going to start to believe that nobody's going to want you. Fear has a way of expanding. Just like you throw the pebble on the beach. You throw the pebble in the water and it makes the biggest splash where it lands, but then you get the little waves and it goes out and out and out and out beyond where the initial splash was. When you have a fear because you've been told you're no good and you accept that as fact, you just keep on going. Well, if my parents don't want me, nobody else wants me either. Then I'm not wanted by my teachers, I'm not wanted by my friends, I'm not wanted as I grow up by my colleagues, I'm just plain not wanted. It goes and goes and goes and goes. What you have to understand that you feel that that's normal because that's what you've experienced, and it seems normal to you that nobody would want you because your parents didn't. If your parents didn't want you, then there's nothing about you that's good enough for anybody else to want you. It's just a very serious thing when you raise a child. Let them know that they're loved. Let them know that you'd do anything for them. There was a woman I was talking with, and her son who had medical problems came in, serious medical problems, and he made the comment to her, you know, you spend a lot of money on me, don't you? He was concerned about the cost of his care because he had to have a lot of medical care. And what she said was so amazing. She validated that. She says, yes, I do spend a lot of money on it. And you know what? You're worth every penny of it. So that would make the child feel secure, loved, knowing that she's willing to take care of him, she wants to take care of him, he's loved by her, and he didn't have to worry about not being wanted. You see, so many kids, they don't feel like they're wanted, and a lot of them end up by committing suicide. Maybe if I go away, my mother will love me. Maybe if I'm not costing her anything because I'm not eating food, I'm not going to school, then maybe she'll love me. And so I've known of cases where children have actually committed suicide because they felt that they were not loved. If you've been through abuse, it's natural for you to think that maybe you're not worthy and nobody wants you. But if you look at the scan of things, if you can get beyond that, that usually is not a realistic fear. People don't go around saying, oh, I want this person, but I don't want that person. If you're a friend to somebody, they're not judging you and saying, well, I like this person better than that person, and I wish that person wasn't here. That's not the way healthy, normal people think. Healthy, normal people think that they love their friends, they generally like people, and they're not going to pick out somebody and say, I wish they weren't here. That's not the usual thing for a healthy adult to do. And so the idea of not being wanted is not usually a realistic thought. It feels realistic if you've been abused. If you have not been abused, you'd say, who would think that? You know, it's not natural, it's not normal. So you need to get past that. For you it may seem normal, but in the scan of things it really isn't. The idea of control and security. Most people feel, even people who are somewhat anxious, if they can control their lives, they can feel secure. If they can't control their lives, then they don't feel secure. So what they spend their lives doing is trying to manipulate what goes on in their life. If they can manipulate what goes on in their life, then they have an expected end. And if they can have an expected end that they want, then they feel secure because they feel like they're in control of their lives. So it's the idea of, I'm going to manipulate this, I'm going to manipulate that, I'm going to do this, that, and the other. Then I will know that I'll be okay because as a result of that, this will happen, this will happen, this will happen, and it'll be within the scope of what I want to have happen anyway. And I feel like I'm in control, so I feel secure. In other words, feeling like you have control makes you feel like you can be secure. But who's got control? You know, who's got control? I didn't realize I was going to have a 4-way bypass. I didn't realize I was going to die twice on the table. I didn't realize that I nearly died during my angioscope when they were scoping my heart to see what the problems were, and I nearly died then. You know, who foresees what's going to happen to them? Nobody foresees what's going to happen to them. If you have to live life like things happen, and you handle them at the time. You can't foresee what's going to happen, so you can't manipulate something into happening that you want so you can feel secure. The idea is that for a person who's abused, control equals security. Lack of control means insecurity. But if you look at the scope of things, nobody really has that much control. So you have to just let go of that control. It doesn't mean, just let go of it. Realize that you can't control everything. Handle things as they come up. Relax. There are a lot of good things that can happen to you that you can't control either. The fact that I was a college professor, I didn't expect to be a college professor, and it just turned out that I became one, and I loved it. And I've always been happy to have been a college professor. And I've never had any regrets about that. But could I foresee it a few years before so I could plan it and manipulate it to happen? No way. Life happens and you just handle it. So let go of the control, allow life to happen as it's going to, handle things as they come up, and don't try to be manipulative to make things happen the way you want them to happen, because you're going to be surprised that it's not going to work out. But what you're also going to be surprised at are the many good things that will happen to you that you never expected. Let go of that control. It's not necessary to have it. The people who must always be right, you feel that you must always be right. If you're not always right, then something's wrong with you. People who are abusers always have to feel right. They have to feel right in what they're doing. And so as they abuse other people, they always have reasons. I'm abusing you, although they're not going to call it abuse. I'm disciplining you. I'm educating you. I'm taking care of you. Why? You need it. You can't take care of yourself. I have superior knowledge. You're better off if you do what I say. I am in control. I am right. Well, nobody's right all the time. Absolutely nobody's right all the time. You have to let go of that. A lot of people who insist they're always right and have to be always right are abusers. But they themselves were abused, and that's the whole key. They abused because they were abused. Their parents abused them and called it discipline. So they are abusing their children, still calling it discipline. And it takes on a life of its own, and it goes from generation to generation to generation to generation. You have to be the one to decide that at your generation it stops. You're not going to abuse anybody, and if somebody has abused you, you're going to have to realize that you're not going to always be right, just as they were not always right. And you can let go of that facade of having to be perfect. Yes, you make mistakes. Okay, welcome to the human race. You know, everybody makes mistakes. Welcome to the human race. It's not that big of a deal to make a mistake. Most mistakes can be corrected, or you may have to compensate for it, or you may have to make restitution. But the fact is, a mistake is a mistake is a mistake, and you should be able to accept the fact that you're not perfect and you're going to make them. Okay. Not worthy of love is a big one. If you feel that you're not worthy of love, you will do things that will cause people not to love you. Why do people get angry at other people? Part of it is a facade. Okay, I'm angry at you. It's your fault. What they're trying to get you to do is to back off, back away from me. If I make you feel that I'm angry at you, you will leave me alone. And what I really want is to be left alone, because I don't want you around me. Why don't I want you around me? Because you're interfering with something that I'm doing, or you're making me think about myself in a new kind of way that I haven't experienced before and that I don't want to experience. Anger is sometimes used as a manipulative act to divide people, to get them to separate, to divide people. And you need to be aware if somebody is angry at you, they may not be angry at you because of anything you've done. They may be manipulating their anger to get you to back off. Now, if I sense that's happening in any kind of a relationship I have, I back off, because I'm not going to be continually faced with an angry person. I have too much to do, I love life too much, and I'm not going to expend my time just handling somebody's anger. But if you're in a marriage situation, or sometimes a deep friendship, you can't do that. You have to find out what's going on. Why are you so angry? What have I done? If I need to apologize, I'll apologize. But the one thing, remember, you're not going to manipulate me by being angry at me. You're not going to manipulate me into a certain kind of behavior by being angry at me. Anger can be used not only to separate people, it can be used also to manipulate people. If I get angry at you, you'll do what I say. And why? Because you don't want to face my anger, so you do what I say, and then not angry at you anymore, and I get what I want. But that's no way to have a healthy relationship. If you're manipulating people by being angry, or you are being manipulated because people are angry at you, that's the time to reassess your relationship with a person. What are you really wanting out of this relationship? Do you want to have this relationship at all? If I find a person is constantly angry, I back off, because I won't face that. I really won't. So we have to just stop to think what the emotions are. This feeling not worthy of being successful, this is where you sabotage yourself. If I have always been told that I'm dumb, I'm stupid, I don't have much worth, somebody offers me a job I really want, I take it, and then the first thing I do is I feel guilty. Oh, I shouldn't have had that job. Why did they offer it to me? I'm not smart enough. I don't know what they're looking at me for anyway. And I wished I didn't have it because it's going to be so much more responsibility. What you do is you cut off your joy. If I want to do something and somebody gives me the opportunity, I can be joyous about it. I'm glad. Why shouldn't I be glad? It's something I've always wanted. It's something that's going to be good. And it gives me a sense of invigoration. It kind of causes me to be able to have joy in life. And what's life without joy? You know, what makes me happiest? To get a chance to do things that I love. That makes me happy, and I will continue to do things. I'll probably be 120 still doing things that I love, but that's just the way that I am. But anyone who feels that they're not worthy of success will sabotage or question why they have success. I don't know why they chose me. I'm certainly not the most viable candidate for this job. Why would they choose me? I'm not as good as the others. You sabotage yourself. You sabotage your joy. You walk around saying, I should be happy, I'm not. Why? Because you have been conditioned to think that you're not worthy of happiness, so you do not allow yourself to have any. I think happiness is something that anyone can have. Now, it's true if you're emotionally disturbed, if you feel guilty, if you're depressed, then that's going to interfere with your happiness. But you can be treated, you know, there's help. There's help for almost everything in this world if you want to seek out the help. And don't deny yourself something that's good because you don't think that you're worthy. Try it out. Assume that you are worthy and just see what happens. You may be very, very pleasantly surprised. I know when I got the call to move out of state to be a college professor, and I thought, gee, I wanted to do that. That was kind of in the back of my mind. I'd never done it before. Well, I decided this is my opportunity to do something that I think I'm going to love to do. And I flew off to another state, and I became the college professor, and I absolutely loved it. I had office hours, I had kids banging on my door, I helped them when they were in trouble, I gave counseling to them, I taught my classes. I just loved what I was doing. I did experiments, I wrote a book, you know, everything worked out well. And if I had sabotaged myself and say, what, me? I can't do anything like that, I'm not good enough. I never did say that, but supposing that I did, I would have made myself miserable and questioning whether I had the right to have the success that I had. I wrote articles, they were published in various magazines, I received creative teaching awards, I did a lot of wonderful things that I really loved, and I'm glad and always will be glad I did those things. But what if I had cringed back and said, I don't know if I can do this, this might be too much. Well, it might have been too much, but how do you know unless you try? So you don't just shut off yourself and say, I can't, because I'm not geared for success. You don't know if you don't try. I say go for it. I say go for it. Now, this one of cannot make decisions, we'll complete that this time, and then we'll go on next segment with other things. But a lot of people who have been abused have been told that they're not worthy and they cannot make decisions. They're not worthy to make decisions. Usually they're not smart enough to make decisions. People have to tell them what to do because they're not capable of doing it themselves. By the way, that is usually not true, and you are perfectly capable of making decisions, but you can be so ingrained by having been told that you can't do it, you don't know how to do it, that you don't dare to do it. And what happens is I have people come to me all the time, can I make a decision about this? Do I have the right to make a decision? And 99 and 99/100% of the time, yes, you do have the right to make a decision. Think about it. If it's a problem, think about it. Come to a decision that you think is best and follow it. If you make a mistake, it's usually correctable. But to tell a person that they're not worthy to make a decision or they're not bright enough to do it, that is usually not true. Now, if you're raising small children, you have to make decisions for them because they aren't mature enough to be capable of making a lot of decisions. However, you can teach them how to make decisions. As they're growing up, you present them with possibilities. I want you to wear a sweater, it's cold out. You can wear the red or the blue or the green sweater. You have your choice. But you've got to wear a sweater. So you set the parameters and you teach them how to make decisions within safe parameters. And then when they get older, they'll make better decisions because they will have had the experience of making smaller decisions under the care of their parents. But you don't have to worry. You do have the right to make decisions and make the decisions. And if you need to have some help with it, go and get some help with it. But don't ever think that you can't do it or that you're not worthy of doing it. I know with big decisions, I always talk to somebody else. What do you think about this? What do you think about that? But the decision is actually mine. I'm just getting all the input that I can get before I make the decision, and you may well need to do that. But as far as your right to make decisions and your ability to make decisions, you will be able to do that as you get practice doing that. People make decisions all the time, and they don't think it's any big deal. If you've been abused, you may think, gee, I don't know, can I make this decision? Do I need help? Do I have the right to make the decision? Should somebody be making the decision for me? These are questions you're going to grapple with if you have been abused. If you have not been abused, you won't think about that. But if you have been abused, those thoughts will come to you. You just take it one step at a time and practice making decisions. You can practice. Okay, I'm going out for lunch. Where am I going? Do I want to go to this restaurant? Do I want to go to that restaurant? Okay, I'm going to rent a movie. Which movie do I want to rent? This or that? You can almost put yourself on a training program to make decisions, to teach yourself how to do it. But yes, you do have the right to make decisions, and no one has the right to tell you that you can't do it. Now, I'm going to close it here because, once again, we're running out of time. I will continue with these symptoms next time and go through them until we have gone through most of the major emotions and problems that you have as a result of being abused to help you work that through. So I hope this has been helpful to you. Please join me next time.